So then the slow build continues as Ron Simmons as a babyface in WCW. Halloween Havoc 1991, you and Luger.
Right.
Coming full circle. He retained the World Heavyweight Championship then, but it was obvious from the way that match was booked and the way everything went that night, you were destined for bigger and better things.
Right.
And that's when we get to 1992.
You know, I cannot stress enough for having gone through what I did, like working with the people that we spoke of. And then for it to get to the point and working with Lex, was absolutely perfect to lead into what was going to take place, man.
Sure.
Okay. And one of the things, that I really enjoyed about getting in the ring with people like Lex, Animal, and Hulk, and people like that, bruh. They work, they didn't gripe a bitch about, hey, okay, if you hit a guy looking in, hey, it looked real because it was real. Okay.
Supposed to be.
Right. We looked apart and sometimes we hit each other and it felt apart, Right. So it was very good leading into what was about to take place.
Cowboy Bill Watts. We talked about him when you had your run in Mid-South. And Cowboy Bill Watts was not afraid to push black athletes to the top.
Right.
He did it with Junkyard Dog.
Absolutely.
He did it with Butch Reed.
That's right.
He tried to do it with Savannah Jack back in Mid-South. And now he's got the All-American Ron Simmons.
Absolutely. And let's just go on the record, and I want to just, so you hear it out of my mouth and you know it's real, okay? All right. Everyone always, when they speak of Bill Watts, and a lot of people like to give him a bad rap and way somebody's a racist and all of this kind of thing and all right. But look, all right. I never felt that coming from him, okay? Like I said, listen, man, I've been an athlete all my life, and the way Bill Watts would sometimes approach things was like a coach. Hey, if you wasn't doing what you were supposed to, he got on your ass, all right? Which I was accustomed to, all right? So I wasn't insulted by that, all right? It inspired me to work harder and to do what the people came to pay to see. All right. Now, others might have felt that. I didn't, because I took his advice on what was about, right. Any ways that he wanted. Hey, Ron, you're not giving me everything out in the ring. Get your ass in gear. All right. Wasn't an insult to me. Didn't hurt my feelings. Made me get out there and want to do it better. Okay. And the one thing that I've always admired about him, it did not care what color you were. If you could get out there and give him what he asked you to do, he was going to put your ass in a position where you could do so.
One's one color that
absolutely. That's right.
And that was green, and it wasn't black or white or anything else. So Cowboy Bill Watts, who, and I appreciate everything you just said, Ron, and I agree, had maybe gotten a bad rep. Not maybe, got a bad rep as a racist person when he was pushing. Even back in the day, Ernie Ladd was his booker and was his number one draw in Mid-South. And he's now in charge of WCW.
Right.
He's got the All-American. He loves you because of your legit athletic background. You spent a good many months in 92 feuding with Cactus Jack.
Right.
Before we get to what we're going to talk about, tell us about working with Cactus.
Everybody, I don't have to say anything about that, right? Look at everybody, right? Listen, very unusual, unorthodox style, in which I'm accustomed to. More power movements, right? And I recall the first time, I think we were in Kansas. I recall it very vividly that we were getting ready to have a match, right? So we were talking, and he comes to me, and he's, and he's like, hey, Ron, I have an idea. Maybe if I jump off of this right here, and and I got the tacks down here, and I'm looking at him like, there is no way in hell, okay, that you're going to jump on me, okay, lying on a bed of, all right, okay, right, oh, yeah, okay, right. So, his style, but listen, was very unorthodox a little bit, right, which is very good for me in another way, because I'm learning, also to blend this with what I do in the ring, all right, right, yeah,
So you were learning what not to do. I'm not doing attack match.
Let me stay away from the fire, right, yeah.
And taking a bump off of that thing up there with no padding.
Yeah.
So that's how first part of 92 went. And then we get to, I don't want to make you mad, believe me, but
it's okay.
27 years ago. It was a house show right here in Baltimore, Maryland. Speaking of Cactus Jack and Cheap Heat, right here in Baltimore, Maryland, when it was supposed to be, scheduled to be, Sting and the then world champion Big Van Vader.
Right.
And Sting was injured. And Cowboy did an angle where he had a raffle on the television show. You take it from there.
Well, just as you're saying, right? I come walking into the building, and here I am, as we said, I'm working just a bit above mid-card, right? So Bill Watts calls me in, and someone came to me and said, hey, Ron, Bill wants to see you in the office. And I'm like, oh, shit. What did I do now? I'm on time, right? I'm thinking of, what did I do traveling here? I didn't get a ticket. I'm not late, Am I going to get fired or what? Right. So I go walking in the office and he's, sit down, Right. And he says, listen, some things have taken place here, with Sting, and he can't be in here tonight, right? So we're going to do something a bit unusual tonight, right? And I'm like, gee, what could that be? And he says, look, we're going to hold this raffle, but at the end, I think perhaps in some way, it's going to be a world championship match tonight, and we just want you to be prepared for it. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Just be prepared. I'm thinking, my God, it's going to be a world championship match tonight. You just want me to be prepared? Right. And sure enough, right, and have the raffle. He still has me on edge still about this because no one knew.
So you didn't know for real?
No.
Wow.
No idea. And no one, not even the boys behind the stage, no one knew at all, okay?
Yeah.
And sure enough, and they have the raffle, right? There's my name pulled, to have the match with Vader that night. And that's exactly how this took place, here in Baltimore. And that's exactly how it went down.
Right down the street. And so now your Cowboys not working you, but keeping you in suspense.
Yes.
And you are in the ring against Vader. At least tell me you knew you were going over.
Listen, I can't even tell. Look, when I tell you this, okay,
Believe you.
it's real, all right? And this is how it took place. It was kayfabe all the way to the finish. And let me tell you, you could not, and I don't care if you listen to, the finishers, listen to pops until the end of the earth. You'll never get a more real pop than that night here in Baltimore because it was real.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a real moment.
You don't mean from just the fans, you mean from you too.
I mean from me and from the when you got the guys backstage, man, tearing up, okay?
Wow.
That's real. You understand? And I got to go on record of saying there wouldn't be nowhere else that I could have thought of that you could ever get that reaction from fans that appreciate what we do, man, than right here in Baltimore.